Let me know if you can hear me okay. So I'm set up on the back porch again, so I can see the moon. Lovely moon in the hazy, super hot skies. 9:31 p.m. Eastern. Coming through from Central Florida. What's up, Sensei Camilo and Matthew Rudy? So I'm kind of working it with the old microphone and a different streaming setup. So let me know if everything sounds and looks good. We've been missing the moon. I've been set up on the 11, scoping Jupiter and Saturn for like the last week. So it's fun to get back to Luna. It's looking very nice tonight. Almost at first quarter. I mean, you could say it's first quarter, but it's right under 50%. And yeah, play some jams. We're gonna hang out, talk about Electric Universe. Happy Saturday. Closing up June here in a couple of days. Can't believe this year is already like, boom, completely gone by. But I've been watching some cool stuff for the past few days. I'll talk about that. And yeah, let's get this show going. What's up, everybody? All right, some more jams and just scouting our scene tonight, going down south towards, let's see, Mare Humorum and Langrenus Crater, and then there's definitely some Terminator creeping up near where Clavius and Tycho would be. And prominently above Humorum, you can see Theophilus Katharina and Cerilius, and Mare Fecunditatis at the top right. And as we move north, we got some Mare Marginis, Mare Undarum, Mare Crisium. Moving up a little bit more, Sea of Tranquility, Sea of Serenity up top. It's been a while with this moon. I haven't been able to show this, but man, it is so clear to see the hexagons side by side. Sea of Serenity, Sea of Tranquility. Of course, you've got Theophilus and Mare Crisium, like a stretched hexagon. So lots of good indication of electric universe stuff with our moon. Very simple and straightforward. What's happening, Dapple Ben and David Traina and Jedi Princess? What's happening? Nice to see ya. Cool. Matthew Rudy says, where's the backup tonight? I'm not sure what you mean by that. But the moon is high up on the ecliptic, so I got the scope pointed almost directly up. Thankfully, I don't need a diagonal, just because I'm not using a focal reducer. But this is the 8-inch Nexstar scope versus the 11, which I've been on for the past few months. And same camera. Make sure you're hitting that 4K. And so just quickly what I was watching the past, yesterday and today, I was watching the Gaia re-records of Electric Universe. So Electric Universe, Thunderbolts Project, has put a series of videos on Gaia channel. And it's Wal Thornhill and Ev Cochran who are really doing the bulk of the work. And I think it's really good, actually. I'm definitely cynical a little bit in terms of the way they present it with the kind of just like the intense Hollywood-style music, the dramatic music cue, because it really doesn't need it, and Wal Thornhill's energy just doesn't jive with that type of, like that sinister drum groove. But the information is concise. They've done a lot of great animations to show all the different theories about Mars and Venus, and it's like an advanced version of Symbols of an Alien Sky, and I think it's pretty good. I mean, look, it's hopeful that at least it's on some larger platform and people get to see it and they see that Wal Thornhill's like freaking brilliant dude, and Ev Cochran as well, and the presentation and the history of Hans Alfvén and the works, including like why Einstein was incorrect about the ether, and he even mentions in one of the episodes Poincaré, Maxwell, James Clerk Maxwell, Oliver Heaviside, and a bunch of the stuff that Ken Wheeler actually refers to in terms of around the era of Tesla and the people who were contemporaries of Einstein and Niels Bohr, how they were actually saying, hey guys, like you can't really get rid of the ether. We need something for waves to propagate through, so to speak. And that just didn't prevail. Let's see. Is the sandstorm going to impact your view much? I think it's already kind of impacting it. I know it's looking really much clearer than I thought it would, but with the naked eye, the moon looks really hazy right now. And I think it has been affecting the Jupiter and Saturn view recently. But it could get worse, we'll see. We shall see. But what's interesting, too, is if you follow the sandstorm's path, it follows this kind of geometry that we're talking about. So it ends up going in an S shape through this kind of spiral. I mean, obviously it's following weather currents, but these currents are the way they are because of this geometry that I talk about. Yeah, sunsets will look amazing, but they have been recently with all the kind of this time in Florida, just everything looks great. These weird storms, and then the storms move on, and you have residual cloud layers, so you have cirrocumulus, and you have, what are they called, the night clouds, the nautilucent clouds, nautilucent clouds, with the moon and Jupiter and Saturn. It's pretty intense. Oh my, Ellie Wynn, good to see you. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm like totally shocked that you're here. It's great. It's like blast from the past. We've been thinking about you and talking about you every show. Maybe you heard, but I'm so glad you're okay. How are you? How's everything? So glad that you're joining us. Hello, hello. if I'm at all fuzzy, it's just because I've been sitting in the sun all day, and plus I'm getting this kind of, you know, the back porch has this old microphone that I use, which has crazy latency, so I get that reverb, and man, it gets my head all funny. So if my reactions are a little bit weird, that's what's going on. But wonderful to see you. And Rockstar, what's up? What? Cool. Old crew's here. Wait for some more people to arrive, but definitely if you have Gaia, check out Thunderbolts Project, give them a view. Also check out, I still think even if you've watched all the Thunderbolts Project videos, it's worth kind of going through that series, just because they really have kind of put it in a nutshell in terms of, you know, the story of Venus, the story of Mars, the connection with everything. I still think that it is missing a little bit about the morphogenic field, that morphic resonance that Sheldrake talks about, because it would really like round out the consciousness portion of Electric Universe. Same thing with Eileen McCusick. So, yo, Marky Rowe, what's happening? Long time. So I also listened to Crow and Jason Lindgren talk to Eileen McCusick on his recent podcast, which people were recommending that I do. You know, if you don't know, Crow and I was the first guest on Crow's podcast way back, and so Crow and I have chatted before and have communicated. So I kind of have checked out of that world a little bit. It's a little bit of, well, I'll be honest, I haven't checked in a while, and I think that the podcast, actually the last bunch of episodes, look like it's much less doomsday, doom and gloom, and more uplifting stuff. So I'll have to give credit where credit is due. Having Eileen on was great, and I don't know, I know they talk about 5G on the paid side of the podcast. I know Ken Wheeler was talking about 5G. I'll be honest, as soon as I see a video with 5G in the title, I avoid it completely. That might be stupid, but that's how I feel about the whole idea that Wi-Fi or microwaves or frequency modulation is going to, you know, cause an apocalypse or modify the human body or any number of things, because I'm certain that it will, and I don't need either to be hyped up that it will do more, and I don't need to be proven that like it won't do anything. So it's this kind of it's a laden topic. Eliwin says, "I'm okay, too long away. It was so intense and still is." Yeah, I know. But I need my space fam, so thanks for keeping the voyage. Missed you too, Ellie. Yeah, I figured something like that was happening. I have not talked much about Black Lives Matter or really any other topic besides kind of space and stuff, simply because, one, I want to give room to other voices. Two, I feel like, I guess I'm talking about it right now, but I think my protest is in science, and I think keeping things concise and to the point is important. You'll obviously know that I care for people. I absolutely don't support racism and the system the way it is, but I've been railing against the system for a long time in a different way. So I'm happy to talk about it in some regards, but I've also been avoiding it online because, you know, everything there is to be said has been said, and I do agree with people who disagree with crap. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on there, but I hope that we get through this okay, because it's cyclical and things will go up and down. You win a little bit and lose a lot, and then win a lot and then lose a bit. And that's how it seems to go throughout the eons. Oh, I see Justin. What's going on? Jill and Justin, welcome. David, take it easy. Genghis Khan, what's happening? Welcome. I'm just reading this. It's always in dark mode on YouTube, and just in general, like the chat room, sometimes I have a blind spot. People have noticed that before. They're like, hey, I was here. And I was like, man, like I could not see your name pop up. It's just like, it's weird how that happens. So welcome to all. Marky Rose says, in these times, nothing is more important than truth. Well, you know, a lot of people have their own truths, you know, so it's tough to go out there and say that one thing should override everything else entirely. And to be honest, like, while I have my beliefs and I think that, you know, abuse of power is terrible and everybody should have rights, it's not as simple as just wanting it, you know? And in a lot of ways, like the creatures that keep things, that oppress the masses are in a way like, you know, predators in nature and entropy in systems. And, you know, this balance, this harmony and kind of equilibrium that life finds itself in every moment, from moment to moment, requires both the terrible and the great. So I constantly, like, I'm battling between my own need to want to feel something visceral, but also understanding that the universe is truly in a stasis that exists, and therefore, what's the point of questioning it, because it's doing its job, just like your eyes or your ears, they're working. You're not doing that work. So the fact that you can delegate it means that the rest of the world sort of works as well. I see some people showing up. Yeah, stay on topic. I will. Electric Universe for sure. Genghis Khan says, excellent version of Catch. I appreciate it. I was enjoying that night. I know like some notes were out, but vibe-wise, it was pretty magical. What's happening, Relic? Nice to see you, brother. Kickin' like a chicken. That's a cool name. Stick to space. Yep. Let's see. Also, there's a lot to talk about in space, and further than that, there's also a definite political angle that I've had, which is, I think, unique. I know some people might have it as well, but I think that it would be great if space opened up. I'm not anti-capitalist. I think systems want to create and use currency or money. So I'm more about, you know, releasing technology, upgrading the space programs, and, you know, investing in space in a way that incorporates people and creates jobs. I know that sounds super political, but it's not really. I think I'm not looking, and I've said this in the past, but I'm never looking for like a, ha, gotcha, NASA, you're a bunch of liars, because there's nothing to that. Like, you can do that all the time and you'll never get anywhere. I think that's what differentiates me. Like, I would love it if there were an open space program that that did not favor rich people, but like, that's just kind of a want. Ultimately, the simplest thing I can do is actually do astronomy homebrew style and share that. Kind of tipsy, chilling like a villain at the Motel 6. Hell yeah, Relic, that's cool. It's Saturday night after all. Everybody needs to kick off, let off some steam, kick around. All right, let's play some tunes. I'm gonna get myself a drink. And let's see, I'm using an older playlist, so let's see what I've got. Yo, yo, all right. That was a little cactus dance, and what was the other one? I don't even remember. It was one of those. But anyway, yeah, like I said, Matthew Rudy is asking about planets. So right now, yeah, Jupiter and Saturn are below the horizon. They're going to rise at about an hour from now. But since I'm on the back porch, I won't be able to see them till like midnight or 1, maybe 2, where they move into the southern view. But the last like 10 days or so, maybe more, I've done streams every night for Jupiter and Saturn, or almost every night, on the 11, because they come up right in front of that view. So right now, just going to do the moon for the next, I don't know, hour or so. Just have some fun, talk about it. It's been a while. Yeah, sorry, I should say everybody can leave me a comment in the video after I've uploaded it, just so that I have reference, because I don't want to go back through the whole chat. So if you don't mind, just leave me a comment in one of the videos that you can find. And maybe for the full moon, I'll just do all covers, or like mostly covers. Like I said, I don't do covers anymore or play the ones that I've recorded because it immediately gets like one of those ads. And right now, in an election year, all you're going to get is some crap election bullshit or some, I don't know, just anything to decry and denounce the video that you're about to watch. So if you notice, I don't have any ads at all or any monetization on the channel, except the videos that have like songs that have been claimed. Therefore, if I do one of those shows, you can bet that they're going to just like plaster it with ads and start monetizing it. But it doesn't matter, doing covers is fun, so let's make a show out of it. Yeah. Black hole sun is a tough one. I mean, I could try it, I could try rearranging it, but that whole guitar part while you're singing is a little bit tough, but why not? I can do it. I know that song really well. Ballroom Blitz, also pretty high register, but could do a version of it. I would pay you money if you could email me a copy of Horse with No Name. No money required. Happy to send you that copy. I'll just play it on that night, and you can download it. Comfortably Numb. Comfortably Numb is pretty easy, actually. For me, at least. That's kind of right in my range. All right, so zooming around the surface here, looking at all the features on the moon, and if y'all haven't heard before, they are really all hexagonal or pentagonal. And it's crazy that we've lived in the world so far where the moon with so-called perfectly circular features somehow deceiving our own interpretations, our own eyes' interpretations. So now that you can really see it, if you look at every feature, you'll find a corner or many corners at 120 degrees, and you'll see double-lobed shapes. Like right here, I got Theophilus on the right, and Katharina on the left, and Cyrillus underneath. And kind of see how this almost dumbbell shape, it looks like a torus, like a side section of a donut. And then the double-lobed shape is Theophilus kind of bridging and creating a boundary layer with Katharina. Both of them have central peak residuals, and you can also see the sides. Really, if you pay attention, you'll see the angles. Feel it in the air tonight. Yeah, that's not a bad one. Matthew Rudy's asking, when is the X on the moon? I don't know. The X is kind of one of those things that seems like it's a bit of that American lore. There's several different features of the X that I particularly find, but I wonder if they're talking about Rima Prins, or I continually forget because it's just one of those kind of like strawberry moon. It's very surface level. No. no offense meant, of course. There's also a large X, and you see a full moon because of the kind of hexagonal geometry creating this intersection. But really, the X is due to the fact that you have the center hyperboloid, like tightening this coaxial Birkeland current, and that creates this edge of the hexagon. And you see that almost everywhere, like right in the center of the screen. I mean, throughout the moon's surface, it's just littered with this type of geometry. There's one X here, I'll show you, but it's just because of the angle we're looking at it at. But really more so that this X, if you can see it directly in front of you, this is right at the edge of Sea of Tranquility. This is roughly where the Apollo missions would have been. But really that long line is more of a raised channel, and these things called sinuous rills are really one of the most important points when it comes to electric scarification and the surface of planets, where you have these very thin, almost carved out channels. And common contemporary pop science doesn't really explain them. They talk about all these subsurface activities like earthquakes and or volcanoes when it comes to these very thin, straight channels. Or they talk about volcanism. But as you can see directly on your screen, this thin channel has no in or out. It just looks like it's a line drawn on the surface, cut through mountain ranges as well. It's really profound if you don't interpret it through this electrical universe lens, which is just the fact that scarification can happen when two planetary bodies interact. Let's see. Matthew, lots of Matthews tonight. Matthew Rudy, Matthew McNicholas says, what's the strangest thing I've seen on the moon? I've seen a lot of strange things, and I've compiled them into one video. A lot of people have seen them with me on this channel, but definitely seen a few craft that are just amazing, and I have no idea what they are. As well, I've seen lunar waves captured, or plasma, like, you know, where I landed on lunar waves is that it's basically hypersonic or supersonic shock wave, like a shock, what we consider breaking the sound barrier with hypersonic craft that creates a very double layer plasma wave event perturbation, and that looks very much like a lunar wave. So I'm just getting this video right here. Okay. So this is the best of the last 5 years, and you'll see all the weird stuff that you can imagine on the surface of the moon, or not on the surface, rather, like transits in front of the surface of the moon, shadows, but there's also videos of ISS and Hubble, so you can see the difference between, you know, for example, an astronomer capturing the ISS going across the moon versus some of the first clips I have in that video that are very interesting, like round shadow type objects passing between us and the moon. So the weirdest thing, a couple of them are in that video, or actually all of them are in that video. I tried to find everything strange that I could, but of course the moon itself is already extraordinary. Relic says, I've seen UFOs on a different channel that live streams and zooms in on the moon like this, but can't for the life of me think of the name. So yeah, so when I say UFO or craft, I definitely think it's human. It's not alien. And so that's why I think it's really different. All the other channels, I feel, talk about it in the sense that it's like from a different source. But I could be wrong. I don't want to sweepingly judge them, even though I just sweepingly judged them. like I said, I went and listened to some of Crow's recent podcasts, and they're very, they're talking about great topics, a lot of which I agree with. Da da da. Yeah, Relic, you did witness like 80% of them for sure. Dendrite, that's cool. The moon is flat in some parts. These flatlands that we're seeing, Sea of Serenity, but even that is probably not that flat. Probably kind of an uneven surface. Just like everything, like a crystal or a gem, it looks flat, but it's really the surface is kind of slightly curved. Everything's curvilinear. Let's see. Time Machine. Sensei Camillo says, have I ever come across something making a shadow on the surface of the moon in all your viewings? Yep, please take a look at the video. Sensei, you've probably seen it before, but I put those 2 clips of the round, like, shadow, the black one, where I followed it. That was on the 11-inch scope, so it's a very clear shot of something. The second one after that has that kind of, it almost looks like a weather balloon, but it's so strange. It's the one that everyone's like, it's E.T. on a bike, or whatever. It's Elliot's bike. But take a look at that. Those are the 2 most clear captures, and those are the ones that, like, when I see other so-called UFO videos, I always shrug because I have, like, it definitely sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm not. I think it's just like once you capture a shot that clear, there's no point in looking at like random lights flashing and moving, because lights are so easy are so easily misinterpreted. Especially with all the technology we have that things can glow. We have satellites, but seeing like strange shadows across the surface of the moon makes you wonder like what that actually is, and especially the speed and the angle at which they move. So let me know what you think. Leave me a comment in that best of, and if you want, like, highlight it and I'll talk more about a particular piece. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good explanation. I haven't seen P and K on in a while. I know they must be dealing with something with this lockdown and everything. Let's see. Matthew Rudy says Electric Universe. Hell yeah, I was talking about that. But there's so many aspects of it. I think it's amazing that more and more people are talking about it. I don't think there's a tipping point in terms of, the pop science mainstream catching on because they're obviously intentionally ignoring it. So there's no like, oh, we didn't know about this Electric Universe thing. Let's get in on it. But they definitely have been ignoring it on purpose. Matthew McNicholas says, do I think the moon ever had water? I would imagine that it has water right now in some form, either in ice in the craters or in electrostatic dust particles. They're made up of the same stuff. It's just not water as we know it, Jim, but it's definitely water in some form. But for sure there's ice on the moon. I think, something indicative of pop mainstream science being flawed or either intentionally obfuscating information is the fact that they've known there was ice on the moon for a long time, even publicly. And yet, when you read articles about the next moon mission and future moon missions, it's always about a hypothetical, is there water on the moon? Might there be water hidden deep in the moon craters? It's always so just obtuse, the way it's presented. It makes you, one, bored with those types of headlines, therefore you don't want to look into the article any further. And then two, it makes no effort to augment information. So it never goes back and says, yeah, like 20 years ago they were certain there was water on the moon, therefore this future mission is ridiculous, why are they launching it? But they don't do anything like that. And I mean like Universe Today, I mean like any number of cats on YouTube who talk about space, basically take things at face value, and they either are completely complicit or they intentionally don't look into new things. And it's very possible that, for me actually, what I've started to consider is the fact that this lattice, toroidal hyperboloid geometry might actually include a whole subset of people that can never see things the way I see them because of the certain type of frequency that they exist upon within this paradigm, this kind of, yin-yang relational paradigm of the electric universe. So this idea that everyone will wake up I don't think really is a real thing. And I don't think disclosure will happen. I know that sounds like a bummer, but it is encouraging to see Crow with a lot of followers talk about the human biofield, and it is encouraging to see the electric universe being discussed in earnest on Gaia. So I'm not opposed to pointing out the good where there is good. Now, what's really good is this damn shot of Mare Crisium right here. The two islets called Pierce and Picard. Let's set up some contrast a little bit. But zoomed in here on one of the massive features, and of course in and of itself is a hexagon with a pinch, almost as a little crater called Proclus. And now I'm almost certain that Proclus really is a representation of a Bennett pinch or a Z pinch. And the space between Mare Crisium and to the left, Sea of Tranquility, this whole Proclus Basin and the Sea of the Dead, there's this region to the left of Proclus. This is a graphical or geographical representation of the hyperboloid of the tube. If you look at your hand right now, just open your right hand and look at the two lines, and then, well, you want to turn your hand so that your thumb is pointing upwards. And you'll see the two lines on your hand mimic the two lines that you see between Mare Crisium and Sea of Tranquility. And the reason is because we're imprinted fractally by the electric universe, by the hand of the Brahman. The lattice geometry is baked into humans, into plants, animals, the moon, and probably the solar system and beyond. Let's see. Just didn't win in the planet formation game. I think that's due to the idea of the moon not having any more water. I wonder though, because, think about it, if you were trying to share resources, maybe the Earth got the lion's share of the water and what they consider the Goldilocks zone, right? This particular place, the particular orbit of Earth, the particular location of Earth being habitable or being life sustainable is the same reason. The reason it's like that is in relation to the other planets not getting that, right? It's not because they failed, it's because they have to fail in order for Earth to succeed. Therefore, everybody is winning in a way. And I know it's a different way of looking at it. Typically, astrophysics tries to create linguistic paradigms that are patriarchal and judgmental and antiquated. even in acronyms, you know, like WIMPs and gas giants and red dwarves and the names of the space programs. It's always aggressive, militant. In a way, it almost represents Martian or Electric Universe when they talk about Mars. The way the space program presents space is aggressive, when in fact space is in stasis, in equilibrium, because we exist, and it has a nice rhythm to it. Just because, you know, popular science thinks they need to dramatize everything doesn't make it better. Ooh, I need some coffee too, and I have some. So let me take a little break and play a tune or two. How about that? I'm a little delirious, as you can tell, but it's just, like I said, I was cooked sitting in the sun today. So this is called Grown to Like You, and I'll get back to the wide shot for a moment. We'll see what the moon is doing. 1018, the edge of space. has a little grown to like you. Got my coffee. Got my coffee. What's left of it. And just hopping in here to talk about gourmet beans. I mean electric universe and consciousness. So we got the moon in view right now. Whoa, what's going on? Like I said, this microphone's all weird. Okay, so what I want to talk about is, I have been talking about for the past few nights, and many nights previous, but really the idea of consciousness being outside the human body as a shared and localized phenomenon that is physical. And I think I'm just going to repeat it until I'm dead, because it makes so much more sense than the ideas are just in your head. And yeah, the way that works is, right now, you're not seeing the aura necessarily of the moon, but the moon stays the moon because it is creating its kind of moon resonance with the plasma around it. And from the core and the surface of the moon, it's also resonating sympathetically like tuning forks with its conscious lunar reality. And that's how it remains the moon from moment to moment. Same thing with each of you and me, like resonating with our own selves as we create an additive plasma resonance effect. So we create the moment, it passes, we experience it, and the next one happens because of that additive effect. And this is me trying to articulate something that really is not very common, although I am remixing a little bit of Eileen McCusick with Rupert Sheldrake, and of course Ken Wheeler, and many others like Eric Dollard and Tesla, and of course the Sky Scholar with the sun having a geometric liquid hydrogen lattice, liquid metallic hydrogen, and really that elements basically organize themselves. But they really don't. They organize themselves, and the rest of the surrounding space organizes them in relation. If you can just imagine the words on a page. Without the page, no words. So, but people don't look at the book, they open it, they're like, wow, this paper is amazing, this page, wonderful. They never look at that, or some people do, but not many. That's really what the idea is here, that space is not empty, and that Einstein and those kind of mathematicians, as they're called, really kind of replaced physics with math and removed a whole bunch of biology from cosmology. And I think the future is electric universe, but also like bioelectrical cosmology mixed with electromagnetism. And it's something more of a hybrid. And it is like that due to the fractalization of this actual geometry. And in a way, it's because we were on this kind of Birkeland filament and we were birthed on it. We were constricted and then expanded and then constricted and expanded. And I think that not only is our solar system spiraling and creating these patterns like you see, but also our lives and culture is mimicking that same geometry. Why wouldn't it be? Yo, what's happening, Astrolabium? How you doing? Looks like a battery under recharge. What's that? You're talking about the moon? And let's see, he was talking about some Onyx, yeah. Onyx coffee brand is very, very good. It's very, very expensive as well, but I think there are certain things that I like to pay for. One of them is really good coffee. Because, like I was saying Ellie was talking about non-woke coffee. Talk about getting like dark roast beans from generic Amazon, and they're like nothing against Amazon, but you know that kind of generic dark roast bean when you try and like make it is just like not good. And I know first world problems, right? World is ending, world ending pandemic and full on revolt. I'm going to talk about gourmet coffee, but that's just the humor, the dark humor in it all. Can't lose the rascality of this universe, otherwise not going to have any fun. Sensei Camillo asked me, have I tried those really expensive coffee beans that they feed to goats, then they poop them out, and they've been roasted in the goats' stomachs? I mean, roasted? That's pretty funny. I don't know, like, I think I have actually, a couple of times, but I would imagine that, like, really, coffee beans in general are kind of almost like, like drinking excrement to some degree, but that is disgusting. And it's also, I mean, just like think about eating food off the ground, right? Have you ever eaten something off the street or off the floor of your kitchen that you haven't cleaned in a few days? You know, what's on the bottom of your foot? You know, glass, poop, a bunch of stuff. At some point or another, we're probably going to have to like have had some crap ingested, and so whatever. If coffee is like that, then then it's the salt of the earth. It's crazy because goats can pretty much eat anything. I wonder how they feed them the beans. Like, I don't think goats would want to eat straight up coffee beans. That would be kind of gross. Like one or two, but not enough to make a brew. Let's see, Relic says, I don't know what y'all are in about. I just get Folgers and a half a gallon or Irish cream and I'm Gucci. Yo, it's just that I got cynical over the years. My 20s were definitely filled with some instant coffee, some Nescafe and some sweetener, but you start approaching 40 and you start spending that kind of money on coffee and then you can never go back. Once you've created that plasma layer that gives you that elite coffee satisfaction, you can never return. I don't know, I'm still okay with cheap vodka because pretty much, although I've had very nice vodka, I'm no vodka snob, but bad coffee is just, yeah, that can spoil a week. The foie gras of coffee. Indeed. We've gone way off track here, but plasma, y'all. So I was talking about several things. I was talking about consciousness. I was talking about electric universe on Gaia. They brought up some great topics about how people viewed Mars and Venus and the cosmic mountain. I'm not sure how many of you have watched Thunderbolts of the Gods or Symbols of an Alien Sky and imagine the polar vortex with Venus, Mars, and Saturn creating these kind of amazing symbolic patterns that were experienced throughout Earth, and that's where we get our symbology from. However, what was fascinating about it is that I kept imagining that this polar configuration was the beginning of a Fibonacci spiral. And right now, we're in a system where these planets, our sister planets, are in a spiral kind of around another Fibonacci spiral, or the same one. So in a way, like that juncture by which our ancestors saw the polar configuration actually was a compression in the wave front, the perturbation in the ether of our solar system, therefore our lives and our consciousness. So I kept imagining seeing Mars unravel and Venus unravel. And that's happened, what? Imagine 10,000 years or less? So it kind of makes sense that not only did the planets and the orbits unravel along this Fibonacci spiral, which means we're kind of looking down on the donut to the center of the hyperboloid, if you can imagine that shape. And our consciousness is doing the same sort of thing, similarly. Elite coffee satisfaction. Yeah, it is a hunger deterrent, of course, and you know, coffee also makes you crash pretty hard. But speaking of it, I'm gonna toast y'all with some of this brew, and yo, hopping in, what's up, somebody somewhere? Nice to see you. Esoteric Gold. Yes, I watched the first and second installment of the new Electric Universe. It was very well done. Yeah, I think I saw your comment, actually. You start to notice the same people. What was actually really funny is I found, well, you know, Rick, Shockwave, posts on so many videos. It's amazing. And I was watching this, the Tokamak, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but Tokamak. Yeah, the Tokamak plasma generator experiment. And I'm scrolling through these comments looking for somebody talking about Electric Universe, and of course there's Shockwave at the bottom of it. So funny. But anyway, they're talking about like, wow, check out how much we, you know, and nobody ever says, hey, yeah, we also saw a Sapphire project and here is the data in relation to that. It's almost like there's this intentional deafness on YouTube to people referencing one another, when I always find, like, that's what I do on this show a lot. I tell you where all the little pieces of information are from, and I think if those people talk to each other, it would be amazing. Which I was saying, Crow talking to Eileen McKusick is kind of surreal. But yeah. Esoteric Gold, yeah, so I watched almost all of them because, you know, I also know the lore, and I've listened to Ev and Wall talk about it a bunch, so I kind of skipped through a bit, but I thought it was well put together too. I thought the graphics make a lot of sense, and Wall and Ev are both extremely concise with what they're talking about. I think a lot more people will see it, and yeah, it's like I said, I don't know if there are going to be that many people in my lifetime who are like, heck yeah, plasma cosmology, Electric Universe, for sure, that's it. But it is nice, it's encouraging to see some of that. Let's see, Genghis says, chi, vital energy that is held to animate the body internally and is of central importance in some Eastern systems of medical treatment and of exercise or self-defense. So chi, right? In the sense of Chinese medicine or Qigong or Tai Chi is this exact thing, right? So many countries and traditions completely acknowledge this idea of self and other being a relational quality. What I don't think necessarily is that Chinese medicine actively talks about it in terms of, you know, like frequency resonance or plasma signatures necessarily, but I think to some degree, and I could be wrong, but who was it? I think Robert Hawthorne on the Electric View, I think one of the earliest shows, was it him or it might have been, oh man, there was another good dude who was presenting, was it Javier? Damn, I'm sorry if I forgot, but one of the first shows that I was on, we were talking about Chinese Qigong medicine and energy healing, but I really think it should be talked about in a more simplistic and logical way. So a lot of people listen to Theoria Apophysis, Ken Wheeler, and it's just like way above their pay grade. They're just like, I'm done here. It's too complicated. But after a while, you really start to hear what he's talking about, and it's very, very straightforward, but you really have to grasp the visual of the geometry. That's why, like, his videos, if you watch some of the what's it called? The ferrocell. If you watch the ferrocell videos and you talk about, and then you watch his idea, kind of, which one? The Secrets of Light or Secrets of Magnetism, whichever one. But you kind of have to look at the geometry in order to kind of gauge what he's saying. And then furthermore, once you kind of absorb some of that, you have to go and listen to Eileen McCusick talk about like how trauma and the human spirit and human memory is stored in resonant plasma shells, you know, and then go to like Rupert Sheldrake and listen to him talk about the morphic resonance. You know, round and about, you go around, and then after a while, it really does start to make sense as to what's going on. And then you get those matrix glasses, so to speak, where you can just look at the moon, and you're like, okay, that's a hexagon, okay, this is where there's a pinch, this is the donut hyperboloid, oh, this is the energy field of the moon, this is why I see the moon, this is why the moon looks like faces. Like, how many things can we answer through this understanding of not just electric universe, but this holistic cosmology, which relies on established, very primitive viewing techniques. Like, you don't need to do more than just look at it to understand it. But can you imagine that right now, popular science says moon craters are perfectly circular? And it's crazy because none of them are perfectly circular. They're all almost hexagonal. And that's just insane to me that we live in this world where that is the mainstream understanding. And in fact, if I mentioned that to people, one, they would either glaze over, or two, they would say, oh, you're just imagining things, or you're a conspiracy theorist, and not even entertain that people literally are lying to themselves while seeing hexagons and saying that they're perfectly circular. It's just like, and you have to shake it off like a bad case of the fleas. Let's see. Feng Shui, use energy forces to harmonize individuals within their surrounding environments. The term Feng or Feng Shui literally translates as wind water in English. Well, it's the relational quality of the geometries, right? The room that you're in is a bunch of shapes, and if those shapes are at different angles, they create different resonance patterns with you. And I think that's what it really comes down to. Matthew Rudy says, why would alien buildings look like ours? Well, because we can't, as far as I can imagine, can't think of anything outside this universe. So you can imagine a lot of things, but what we know is what we know right now. And I know that sounds like a lot of jargon. It just means that this geometry that we see, this donut and hourglass spiral, and really the onion skins. So if you can imagine cutting fruit or vegetables in half, and just imagining that symmetry and that pinch at the center where seeds are, and you just imagine that that's recursive through everything, through humans, through plants, animals, cells, etc., then you realize that even if there were aliens on Saturn, that they would probably have symmetry, and they'd probably have limbs, and they would probably have some form of consciousness like everything does. And it would exist in relation to us. It wouldn't just exist without humans, because we're not separate from this universe. We're baked in, you know? So if they're aliens, great, but I don't think they're aliens that would make us as humans less impressive. you know? All right, take a little break here, getting dry. Have a little more coffee, and this moon is looking kind of green. I think it's partly because it's very high overhead and is probably interfering with the rooftop. You know, the scope is trying to get the light in and it's dim. So I'm going to adjust that and stretch. And put on an older jam. What about some chill? It's always chill. Okay, back on the microphone, les gars. Ça va? Le tout? Are you all good? Hope everybody's feeling good tonight. 10:57 p.m. Eastern, edge of space, edge of reality. We got an inverted moon right here with some Saharan glaze. Oh, you want some Tetris corners? Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. What's going on, Soul Taker? Says, I mean, I know I'm not the only one. Everyone sees the lights up into the left, right. Yep, there are tons of transient lunar phenomenon. I believe that all those kind of glowing bright spots are due to the fact that there's electrostatic surface conditions on the moon. So it's almost like a neon light flickering. It's got certain types of xenon, argon, and neon. I know that it's xenon, argon, I think neon, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe neon is not the right word. But it definitely has gases on the surface that, when electrostatically charged, glow. And especially Proclus, Tycho, Aristarchus, you get really, really bright, intense hot spots. But you also get them at the edges of craters and the center peaks of craters as well, due both to the angle of the sunlight hitting the moon, but also due to the fact that the sunlight hits the moon and charges those areas, and they glow. Let's see. What's happening? American Life Videos, how are you? And who else? Red Sky, sorry, damn. It's so hard to regulate. I'm talking softly, but then it just goes out of whack. So, hope I didn't blow anybody's eardrums out. I want to say what's up to everybody. If I missed y'all, thanks for hanging out tonight. Let's switch the view back over here, and we'll find a track. What did I want to play? I think it was Calling My Mind. Let me know if you have any thoughts. I was drawing a bunch of these hexagons and interlocking hexagons that form a toroidal 2D cutaway and a hyperboloid hourglass shape in the center. And then I was drawing the filaments, the Birkeland filament that goes through this hyperboloid. This is how the moon has its features, and this is why your hand has dendritic ridges imprinted in it at the same time. It's the same reason. This is Calling My Mind, and yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts on that. What's up, El Guapo? Rick Dangerous, how's it going? Yo, I meant to say thanks for that Jupiter wave spot. I wrote you back, and I still haven't edited the clip, but really great spot. Thanks for calling it out and noticing it, because I certainly didn't. Let's see. I feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit, but it could just be due to the fact that I'm hearing latency, and it just feels weird to talk. So I'm just going to chill with y'all, play some more music, but let me know if you have any thoughts. You can see all the hexagons. The reason it's like that is because electricity had a huge role in the formation of the surface of the moon, very simply. And right now we have, this story that is on the JPL NASA YouTube channel that shows how the moon was formed by an impact that hit Earth that created an accretion disk and ultimately created the moon. And then the moon went through heavy bombardment, and then we ended up with the moon that we have today. The other story is that we don't know exactly what the origin of the moon is, but we do know that the surface looks carved up like like you see in electricity experiments in a laboratory, like you see on Earth, Mars, Pluto, and many other surfaces of planets. I mean, I can only show you the surface of the moon in detail, but you can see these dendritic ridges, structures, hexagons, very recursive fractal geometry that looks like everything else, like molecules, like faces, and it's not coincidental. It's the same reason it looks like a face is because we are also grown on filaments like planets are. And I think how many times, think about how many times you've been told that, oh, you're just crazy, you're just seeing things, and you're seeing faces in clouds, or you're seeing patterns where they don't exist. But what I'm saying is that electric universe, understanding this fundamental geometry, actually says no. The reason things look similar and we recognize things is because they are one and the same. This is pretty huge. It makes things a lot more simple and comprehensive. And it makes you also more confident because you know you're not going crazy. Let's see. Soul Taker. Oh, right. I was going to switch this moon back while I'm talking about it. But yeah, there are so many features here that really the biggest one is just to look at the palm of your right hand and look at the moon and see how you can find all these comparative dendritic ridges and pathways. And then once you're done looking at that, take a look at the local supercluster and take a look at rivers and tributaries. Take a look at the surface of Mars. Take a look at bees and honeycomb. And then take a look at basalt flats. And then take a look at crystals. And you'll see that all these things have this similar geometry in common. And it's no coincidence. It's actually the fundamental geometry. There is nothing beyond that, as far as we know. There could be something that's more, but all we really know is this geometry and then the counter space, because that's what actually forms the geometry. The pressure between this plasma pinch expanding outwards and the ether, the bubbles around it, pushing it inwards, therefore creating this point, this layer actually. And then the point experiences the layer and pushes out another oscillation. And then the ether, the counter space, pushes back and creates another layer. And they're organized in quantized magnetic shells that organize elementally, mathematically, and probably culturally. Yo, what's going on? Cat Dan, how's it going? Cat Damn. It's a wonderfully cohesive system, and I really think, I've gone all in on Electric Universe because it just makes visual sense with humans, planets, animals, the idea of consciousness being the one, and then the systems being interpretations within the consciousness. And, conscious and subconscious, because the subconscious is the relational quality of the conscious. They both need to coexist. It's not one or the other. It's both. Heather Parker, what's happening? And anybody else joining? Let's get some Calling My Mind and then Light of the Moon. Right from the top, and I'll adjust this view for us. Yo, yo, yo. I knew it was the headphones are making me sound like I'm losing my voice, but I think it's okay. I see Nightlight. I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Tonight's a crazy show. It's like everybody's showing up out of the woodwork. Good to see y'all. I know there are probably some people from way back, and if you're new and you don't know anything about this channel, please take a look at the playlists and the description of this video for more information on the music, on the gear, and some people that I recommend, Electric Universe stuff, and old archive shows, because there's a lot. Alright, that was Calling My Mind from early days of TakeBackSpace, and I was going to do some Light of the Moon here while I sketch some more. So I'm just drawing these structures that I really think make so much more sense than this idea that the moon was just cratered through a heavy bombardment phase and it came together through a pile of rubble. I know that that's not as simple as that, but accretion disks showing that matter orbiting, like loose rocks and dust orbiting a planet forming into a moon makes less sense than a moon being birthed or being grown along a filament. So it feels like, to me, that there's a more logical story about the origin of our moon that is likely a moon that was grown, and then due to the fact that it was a certain, maybe it had water and lush greenery, and then when it interacted with Mars 10,000 years ago, let's say, or more or less, then it got stripped of its surface. It got cooked basically by the electrical interaction between it and another planetary body. Now that's just a story. I'm not sure that that's the case, but it makes a lot more sense than the contemporary pop sci version of it for me. All right, a little bit of Light of the Moon, a little bit of sketching on the moon. Yeah, I'll just hop in for a little context. So I'm just showing this, it's very rough, but I'm like playing around with some visuals. But you can see how all these different things have the same thing in common, this one geometry, which I keep showing. And then these lines that I've drawn around the apple, these are those conscious, or this memory layer in like, so imagine Chladni pattern or Chladni patterns, or that you've seen cymatics or frequencies. So resonating in plasma, creating these very complex, high-order dimensional geometry, which is what we store our memories and our consciousness as. And that's what I think is emanating from this geometry. That's what's really missing from some of the kind of the holistic entanglement of these theories. The funky apple, exactly. What's going on? Brandy Robinson, long time, welcome. That sounded like the beginning of Lunatic Friday by Red Rider. Cool. That last track, huh? All right, what's going on? Meredith, it makes the moon perfect to colonize. What did I miss? Sorry. I've just been like focused on sketching here, and the chat was hidden for a moment. What's going on? Craig Clark, getting Floydish. Thanks. All right, so a little bit more music while I draw this. So a few more examples, and I'll show, like, you see the butterfly wings grow the same way, the center of the butterfly. Look at your hand again, like the palm. You know, like, I'm not necessarily talking about palmistry or like telling the future, but your hand basically are these kind of twin boundary layers that are created around this hyperboloid. They're compressed, and it's the same thing as the core of an apple, butterfly wings, bee honeycomb, and more things that I'll show momentarily. I'm gonna try and find a track that I want to play. What about this new one, Dreamfields?
Sleepless peace on and on. My dreams are made to feel so tiny. Sleepless peace on and on. My kids are made to dream so high and on. Sleepless peace on and on. My dreams are made to feel so tiny. What do you think is real, and how you think you see this silhouette redeemed until the moon is all of me? We race against the past and let time drift over me. And so you know it's real. I cut you color bean, I'll find the rest inside this sea. My dreams are made to feel so tiny. Sleepless peace on and on. My kids are made to dream so high. Sleepless peace on and on. My dreams are made to feel so tiny. Sleepless peace on and dreams are made to dream so high. If I see you and me together, wrapped around my head instead, I felt you on the surface of the moon. They said I'm dead until you know my dream, as none of us will always be waiting for them to wake up eternally. Let's get pushing on up this burn. Sleepless peace. My dreams are made to feel so from what you give. If you could synthesize your every dream, I think it grows in heavy soils and trickles down the hemispheres into machines. Collective iris of machine. Collective iris. Oh my love, I make no mistake when you arrive. No other will do what dreamers buy. The love is misshapen, claiming for the crowd. I know it's up to you. Point me up into, and if it was your mythical action, I know you're distracting me from this dream I have been forced last night. I love geometry will lead. The music plays and get high up in space, man. Receive the love, believe in something. The music plays and get high up in space, kid. Receiving your love, deceiving nothing. The music plays and get high up in space, man. Receiving your love, connecting something. The music plays and get high up in space, kid. Receiving your love, deceiving nothing. The music plays and receiving your love, collective virus.
All right. So that was a bit of sketching, a bit of music. Oh, I didn't say what's up or rum Vorax. I meant to, but what's happening? Welcome. Yeah, so I rotated the moon a bit so we could see it, but you can see right there because I have a delay, but that molecules, honeycomb, butterflies, all these different things really have similar patterns of geometry that you can find on the moon. That is crazy, or it makes perfect sense. I don't think it's one of those things where you're seeing stuff, except that you're basically seeing really the connection between these things, which is the fact that geology, planetary cosmology, human interaction, human bodies, animals, plants, all sorts of different forms come from this one really efficient, natural geometry. And there's just really no stepping away from it once you really see it. All right, coming up into the 2-hour mark here. I am starting to feel like I need some food. I realized I started at like 9 and didn't have any dinner. So I'm gonna start wrapping it up soon. Next, like, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. Also, the moon's starting to get really too far over to the west for me. So I'm probably gonna call it for tonight. But now that I have the scope set up on the back porch, I'm gonna be doing the next few nights. So tune in tomorrow and the day after around the same time, let's say 9:30. I know some of you don't get the notifications. I'm sorry for that, but set a reminder on your calendar and just check this channel if you want between 9 and 12 tomorrow, and for the next week if I can. I'm going to try and just get the moon every night, and then Jupiter and Saturn maybe later. So I hope I made some sense with what I was talking about. There's so much to uncover, but at the same time it is very simple. And I think all of you, once you see what I've done here with the hexagons side by side, you go back and look at all the things that you know in terms of science, in terms of space, and try and see it through that filter, and a lot more will make sense. All right, let's play some tunes, and I'll let the moon start drifting, and I'll bid thee all a wonderful night, and maybe I'll get on in a little bit later tonight if there's a good view of Jupiter and Saturn. Otherwise, I'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your night.
Extending your shape to the letter that gave illusion and told me what to do. December the least over.